Great. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
No
It's
problem.
a
No
pleasure
problem.
having you on, and I don't think anybody else except for you who could have answered these questions with a lot of detail, because you're one of the best pediatricians that I've known of in Mumbai.
Pleasure's all mine. A pleasure. We do what we can best to help
Yeah.
spread the word
Yes.
and spread the awareness.
Yes. And in particular, I wanted to ask you questions because you yourself work out. I know there are a lot of doctors who advise kids to work out and people to work out, but they themselves don't do anything. So it's
Correct.
always good to ask a person who himself works out. So my first question regarding that would be, as a pediatrician, what value do you see of health and fitness in children's lives?
I think health is health of kids is basically a topic very dear to me. I mean, it's dear to any pediatrician because what we have is a concept of a well child. A well
Hmm.
child is something that has been ignored a lot in our country because the concept is that let's see a doctor when a child is sick.
Hmm.
And it's never a point where someone comes and, oh, very rarely does any parent come and say, okay,
Hmm.
my child is not sick, but I just want to ask you certain questions about the nutrition, about his milestones, about his in
Hmm.
general health, growth, activity
Hmm.
levels. So when we create a concept of well child, it is, I think, extremely important for every parent to know that well child is as important as a sick child. And
Hmm.
we, as pediatricians, are very well trained to address that. For the
Hmm.
lack of time, for the lack of infrastructure, a lot of our colleagues are unable to spend time with a parent to explain the
Hmm.
goods and bads of day-to-day living with your kids, the
Hmm.
nutrition aspect, the health aspect.
Hmm.
So when you visit your pediatrician, we strongly recommend that even if your child is sick, before you go to him or her, make a list of few questions regarding your child's in general health that you want to ask as well. So once you're
Hmm.
done with addressing the cough, cold, fever,
Hmm.
spend 2-3 minutes more. Okay, doc, you know what? I want to ask you a few questions about the diet. And I'm sure every pediatrician will give you time. Because what
Hmm.
happens
Hmm.
for every parent is they listen to 10,000 people around them. I mean, we don't blame them. There are a lot of doctors in
Hmm.
the family, who'll tell them, okay, give this food, give that food. My neighbor's kid is
Hmm.
so fat. Why come my kid is so thin? My neighbor's kid eats food. It's always a constant comparison. And plus, your grandparents who've been born and brought up in, or have born in, I mean, kind of brought you up in a different environment.
Hmm. Hmm.
They also have their own advice, and the parents are under a lot of stress and confusion.
Hmm. Hmm.
Dr. Google also exists, but at the eventual part of it, it really puts the parent through hell to get the
Yeah.
exact right advice. So they should ask their doctor.
Hmm.
Number one, is my child growing properly? Number two, what is a normal health of a child? What is the normal definition of a good
Hmm.
health? And number three, what foods should I give and what
Hmm.
foods should I avoid? So these
Hmm.
are things which, if you ask your pediatrician, he can very or she can very easily in few minutes explain and give you a
Hmm.
gist of
Hmm.
things about the health of the child. So when it comes to these three questions, I'm going to quickly answer them.
Sure.
Number one, genetics play a very major role in the health and
Hmm.
fitness. Fitness is a separate part in the health of a child.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
A parent, a mother or a father who, as a child, was skinny, was small,
Hmm.
was petite, will not have a big child, big structured child. But the parents very
Hmm. Hmm.
commonly say, okay, but doc, now to I'm 110 kilos. I say, no, no, that's not how it works.
Hmm.
When you were 4 years old, when you were
Hmm.
5 years old, how skinny were you? So they say,
Hmm.
yeah, my mom used to tell me, I never put on weight for
Hmm.
an X amount of time.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
even if, and it's a very common thing, even if you feed your child 8 slices of cheese and 2 glasses of ghee, they're still not going to put on weight because you know what? Genetic structure is a major dominating factor when it comes to the structure of your child. And for
Hmm.
every
Hmm.
parent, structure is health,
Hmm.
which is a big confusion. That comes to
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
second, takes me to the second question. What is
Hmm.
the definition of health? lack of sickness and achievement of milestones is a sign of good health. Weight is not a priority when it comes to children. So a kid who's 3 years old can be 20 kilos but falls sick every 2 months, requires nebulization, is lethargic, as compared to a child who's 3 years old, near half his weight, 12 kilos. But if you can't catch that child when he runs, and when that child hits you, it hurts, that child is healthy. So lack of sickness is health, period. It's very simple.
Correct.
So when it comes to health, this is a very important thing that every parent should remember, that A, do not compare. B, lack of sickness is health. And C, spend time to understand what are the normal milestones for your child at that age. And if your child is achieving it, just enjoy your child. Do not run behind, do not push, do not shove food in the mouth, do not make it a living hell for your child by pushing or shoving food or force feeding food into the child's mouth. That's the key factor whilst talking about the health of your child.
Okay. And how important is it for children to stay active and engage in physical activity each day?
So when it comes to fitness, fitness is from birth to 3 years, 3 to 6 years, 6 to 10 years, and 10 years, 12 years onwards. Fitness has different definitions. So when it comes in the first 0 to 3 months, fitness of that child is about achieving milestones, is about the size of the muscles of different parts of the body, is about reaching simple things like standing up on time, walking on time, the gait of the walk of the child, which tells us which part of the body has stronger muscles, weaker muscles, the amount of energy he has in his or she has in his fingers to pull, the amount of energy he has. So first 3 years, a good structural growth with achievement of milestones is fitness. When it comes after between 3 and 6 years is about running around. Is about running around, which is maximum activity. The child just follows you everywhere. The child does what you do. So what we call is mirroring is fitness in a child between 3 and 6 years. If everybody in the house is continuously just sitting, the child will just sit. Number one. Number two, if the child is over pampered, that he or she is not even allowed to go out and reach and get its own toy. There are 3 maids running around and one finger pointed or one noise made and that toy is given and this is given and that is given. That is fitness of a child between 3 to 6 years is need-based fitness. You have to create the need for your child to run around. You have to create the need for your child to show physical activity of jumping around. Do not be a safety paranoid parent. Oh, don't do this, you'll hurt yourself. Oh, don't let them jump. I'm sure you will keep the environment safe enough at home, but if they're jumping from one little soft surface to another soft surface, encourage it, because that's their fitness, that's their calorie burn, that's their squat, that's their push-up, that's their basic whole body workout like a cardio. That brings strength, shape, size to their muscle. Post 6 years of age, fitness comes about non-contact sports, no harm. Start swimming, put the child in the pool, take the child to a baddie court, take the child with a bat and ball to the ground, throw the ball to the child, let the child throw the ball back. Because spatial coordination, the child is able to understand depth. So racquetball sports between 3 and 6 years encourage fitness and give the concept of competitiveness, a little spirit of gaming, sportsmanship. All this starts developing. You're developing a character and liking towards sports. That is between 3 to 6 years. 6 years to. So when you do 6 years onwards, you're looking at racquetball sports between 6 years and 10 years. When the child wants to be on the court, When the child wants to do what the dad or the mom is doing. When the child is looking to grab that ball that you throw and throw it back. So between 6 and 10 is a non-contact sport. But take them out. Make them active. Let them go to the jungle gym. Let them fall a couple of times. Let them go on the pull-up bars. Let them go up and down the staircases. Post 10 years is what you want to bring in fitness in form of competitive sport. Competitive sport, contact sport, soccer, football, all basketball, all competitive team sports. When there is a possibility of the contact there, that the body is strong enough to handle the contact and not to have any permanent damage. In the West, they recommend contact sports post 8 years, but their safety norms are much more stringent than ours. So I prefer here that after 10 years, the kids get into contact sports. Athletics is a non-contact sport. You can start between 6 and 10. Swimming, you can start between 6 and 10. Going cycling between 6 and 10. Non-contact, non-competitive sports are good. No non-team sports. And post 10, you put them into a sport of their liking. So fitness is age-wise, but I mean in today's day and age, everybody, because of constraint of time and space, can't put every child in. I mean the schools are doing the most of it, but at home, please encourage a mindset of activity. Turn your dining table into a table tennis table. No harm. Put the sofas on the side, give them a plastic ball and bat and whack it around with your kid. They will love that. Throw the ball and ask your kid to get it and ask him to throw it back at you. So these are things which are excellent for this age, So keep them going. Keep them, let their energy disperse in the form of physical activity. Otherwise, you get cranky children, you get tantrumy children, you get children who bite, scream, howl. Let them disperse their energy in form of physical activity. If you live on the second, third floor, post 6 years, let them go up and down 2-3 times. Go with them. Hold their hand and go initially and then go with them. Let them enjoy your company. Form a bond with physical activity. And they will love it, and that's the fitness you will see.
Wow. That's a completely different definition of fitness I've ever heard about children before. So it's quite applicable to everyone. And now this, you already addressed this, but I want to bring this up again. So nowadays, childhood obesity is sort of an epidemic that we're seeing. In the West, it's quite a lot. In India, it is increasing day by day, according to my experience. And so how do you bring this topic up in front of parents, and how do you combat this issue? Because I myself have been through this phase years ago. When I was just in 6th standard, I was just 12 or 11, I used to be 98 kilos. And I was so big that I couldn't see my own feet. My stomach was so big.
Correct.
Yeah. So then slowly I started off fitness and I started understanding the body and stuff like that. I joined martial arts and then I lost all the weight. But then how do you combat as a pediatrician this issue?
So childhood obesity, actually, let me start with some shocking statistics. Number one, in preschool age or early school age, 9 to 10% of obesity exists, meaning 1 out of 10 children is obese. In the late school going age, it goes up to 30 to 40%, meaning out of 10, 3 to 4 children are obese. Number 3, India has the second highest number of obese children in the world. It is only second to China, which is shocking. Wow. We've already beaten the West when it comes to childhood obesity. And the most shocking statistic is 2 out of these 3 children who are obese will turn out to be obese adults. 2 out of 3. And childhood obesity, going into adulthood obesity, has the maximum chances of diabetes, high cholesterol, dyslipidemias, gallbladder stones, depression, breathing difficulties, and even some studies have linked them to cancer as well. So it's a huge thing. that needs to be addressed and taken extremely, extremely seriously. The roots of obesity start in childhood. It is a very simple math here. You know it as a trainer, as such an expert in fitness, that it's about calorie deficit. It's very simple. There is no way to, I mean, you have to make your child burn more calories than he or she consumes. How to burn those calories we just discussed. But how to reduce the intake of those calories is what they need to know. Parents need to know, number one, is their child obese or not? You'll be surprised that I get parents who are healthy themselves who refuse to acknowledge the fact that my child is overweight. So, you know, it's just, अरे ये तो सब घर पे ऐसे ही खाते हैं, सब ऐसे ही दिखते हैं. It doesn't make it correct. You know, that's not the way. Every child, in fact, if the child's parents are obese, they should be even extra more cautious because genetically their child is prone to obesity. So they should be monitoring his or her diet even more than a child of parents who are on the fitter side. Number two, fats do cause obesity in children, saturated fats. But in children, it is marked that sugars cause much more obesity. Refined sugars cause much more obesity than fats in children. Because the access to sugar for a child is also extremely easy. I mean, every third person coming and meeting the child is going to slide in a candy or a chocolate, which is just high in sugars, you know. So sugars is a major problem. Third is this new age problem, which you and me didn't have when we grew up, is eating while watching screen. Any screen that the child, that, you know what, I will not be that aggressive if I say that up to 60 to 70% of kids eat in front of a screen. Maybe even more, but definitely not less. Screen can be iPad, can be phone, can be TV. The kid eats 3 to 4 times more in front of a screen. The kid doesn't realize. The kid doesn't understand that sandwich comes, it's gone. Sandwich comes, it's gone. Sandwich comes, it's gone. And the mother is thrilled. Oh my God, my child is eating so well. But there is a complete disconnect. The satiety level in the brain is beyond the regular norms because the brain is constantly distracted by screen. And so many kids you see, your mother will come, "Arey, doc, my kid's not eating yet. You know what, the TV is not working, so he's not." Arey, it's shocking. Because now the kids only eat in front of TV. If you don't give them a screen, they refuse to eat. But parents need to lead by example. The dad cannot be sitting and watching a screen and having his grub, and the child is forced to eat on the table. Cannot happen. You have to lead the way. You have to have a healthy meal time. Dinner, lunch on the table, everybody leaves everything. Sit here and eat. I guarantee you the child will eat 1/3 or at least half what he normally eats in front of a screen. Because that's all the body requires. The brain understands the satiety immediately, it's not distracted. And number 3, the last reason for children to be obese also is the fact that the physical activities become very less. You know, like we spoke about fitness. Fitness means it should not be, I'm not talking about doing a class. Oh, but he goes for karate 40 minutes a day, he's still putting on weight. And he goes 3 times a week for tennis, but he's still putting on weight. The point is, he or she is burning calories only at tennis. There's not a single calorie burnt at home. The BMR at home is so low, that is the basal metabolic rate, you're aware of that, but this is just for the listeners. There is no regular burn in calories on daily basis. So the child puts on so much weight on those days that he doesn't or she doesn't play tennis or swim. That 30 minutes or 40 minutes of a swim or a game of tennis It's not going to burn that and give you that calorie deficit.
Correct.
So make some activity every day. Like I said, I'm a big fan of go up and down the staircase. I love it. I mean, spend half an hour, just sweat it out. We are not in a country where you can say, okay, I've burnt calories, it doesn't show, I sweat less. In our country, if you're burning calories, you sweat, period. If your t-shirt is not wet enough, you've not had a good workout, period. So get your children addicted to the feel-good factor of a post-workout endorphin release. That high, get your children addicted to that high early. You know the feeling you and me get once you're done with your good workout. The endorphin release, that feel-good factor. Children also get that. But currently they're getting that dopamine release from screens. The feel-good factor is only coming from screens. So there's no urge to get that feel-good factor from something physical. All parents need to set and lead by example. It's a must. It's a must. Fitter parents have fitter children. Period. As simple as that.
Awesome. And this was physical fitness, and now coming back to mental fitness, which is also important in the children. Have you ever encountered depression in children, and any effects that health and fitness could have on the depression?
So, you know what? I'm going to be very careful how I choose my words here. Depression is like coining the word depression for a child is like a double-edged sword.
Okay.
The word depression is a taboo in adults. So you can just begin to imagine what it is in your children. If I were to say that 5 to 7, 3 to 5% of children in preteens have signs of depression, which increases to 10 to 15% in teens have signs of mild depression, which increases to 15 to 25% in adolescence and early adulthood. So if you go by the clinical textbook definition of depression, a lot of kids are going to fall into that. I mean, I can give you my example. Retrospectively, after I studied medicine and understood what depression was, I mean, most of us would go back, I think I was depressed in the 4th grade. It is that common.
Okay.
Crying at a drop of a hat, tremendous amount of anxiety while going into public places, the fear of interacting with other children. When things are not going your way, inability to communicate, eating too much, eating too less, sleeping too much, sleeping too less. All these form around the clinical definition of depression, but we are not going to put it as depression. We are going to put it as behavior within the physiological range towards the periphery of the range.
Okay.
So what happens is, I need the parents to understand that if you stick or Google definition of depression in kids, 60 to 70% of you all will think that there is something to do with my child. But that's not correct. Because depression is one aspect of it. Physiological, psychological, subdued behavior, physiological, psychological, different behavior is the most common thing. Physiological is different, pathological is different. Most of our kids are physiologically upset. They're either stressed because of the amount of pressure put on them. You can't even begin to imagine the amount of stress that the kids are having right now in COVID times. I mean, people think you and me are stuck at home and we think, I'm going crazy. They are going absolutely mad. Kids cannot sleep at night because their entire routine of physical activity has stopped. Their eating schedule is disarray. The social interaction with their friends has gone for a toss. The amount of negative news they keep hearing, their own fear that they keep coining in their head when they listen to COVID is going off the roof. I mean, for us, we may be able to reason in our heads that, look, I'm okay. But kids don't have that. Kids think of
Mm.
the worst, they may not be able to communicate with you. So I think for a child's mental health, the most important is for every parent to open lines of communication to their children. Every child should have zero fear of
Mm.
discussing anything about themselves when it comes
Mm.
to their parents.
Mm.
Till they make their best friends, the parents should be their best friends. If you open up your lines of communication where your child is fearless to come
Mm.
and communicate to you about everything without you cursing them, without you putting them down, without you telling, hey,
Mm.
not don't talk about this in front of me. I don't like this.
Mm.
Talk to your mother.
Mm.
Don't talk to me about this. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to understand the
Mm.
amount of exposure that we've had as children was nothing compared to the exposure these kids are having at a very young age.
Mm.
So we
Mm.
need to protect them. And protection cannot be by
Mm.
forcing rules on them. Protection can
Mm.
only
Mm.
come through camaraderie, through befriending them. Open up channels of communication so that your kid does not even have an ounce of fear to come and
Mm.
discuss something with you. That is the only way you can have your child's mental health
Mm.
intact, especially during these tough times.
Mm.
Talking, 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 communicating, 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 and not reacting. Think twice before you react to your child's comment.
Mm.
The child needs your
Awesome.
support. The child needs you
Mm.
to understand him or
Mm.
her.
Mm. Great. Great. And any message that you'd like to tell parents who are watching this apart from the discussion we've had so far?
I think I want to tell all the parents that even though this is a tough time for them right now, it is equally or even more tough for their children.
Mm.
So as you take care of them physically, you take care of them financially, but most important right now, they need you emotionally.
Mm.
They need you to be there. I know it's tough for all the parents right now as well, but the kids also need them. Talk to your children, express to your children what you feel, and listen to them. Have a heart
Mm.
to heart conversation at least once in 10, 15 days. Try and understand what your kid has heard from here or there. Kids who are at a younger age, for whom all this doesn't make a difference, make sure they don't get used to this sedentary lifestyle. Make
Mm.
sure they don't get addicted to the screen time that unfortunately they have to have because of no other option.
Correct.
So break the cycles. Even if it
Mm.
comes to missing a few classes on screen, stop.
Mm.
Go to the window. You don't, if you're scared to step out, go to the window, see the greens, talk about the
Mm.
greens, talk about the environment, go to the terrace, go to the compound, take your
Mm.
car, go for a drive, go up and down the staircase, run around in the house, throw the ball, catch the ball, turn your table into a table tennis table, push the sofas aside, play cricket in the hall, do all this.
Mm.
It's extremely important for your physical fitness, for your kids' physical, mental, and emotional fitness. I think
Excellent.
that's all I can
And
say.
and awesome. And Dr. Parekh, I know your clinic is at Kemp's Corner. It's called Cheers Child Care, and you also have a YouTube
Correct.
channel that I just checked yesterday. So
Yeah.
I'd advise all of
Yeah.
you to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. There's a lot of good
Yeah.
content I saw because you
Thank
sat
you.
with different
Thank
doctors
you.
and addressed different topics in Hindi and in English, right?
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's great. But if somebody wants to contact you and book an appointment, how can they approach you?
So, I mean, they can get the clinic number online, come and see
Okay.
me, there's not a problem. And we are very available on the phone, so they can pick up the phone and talk to us anytime, no problem.
Okay, great, great. So thank you so much, Dr. Parekh, for joining us today. And it was a really eye-opening session for myself as well, because the step-by-step definition of fitness for children that you mentioned, I had never read it anywhere before. Everywhere, in the research and stuff, even in American colleges of sports medicine, they all like put it up as generic information. Like all children should accumulate at least 60 minutes of exercise per day. But that's
Yeah,
not
we
really how
try.
it
It's
works.
not easy.
Yeah,
No, it's not easy.
yeah,
But we,
yeah.
but we as Indians are extremely indigenous. We are
Hmm,
extremely adaptive. So there's not a
hmm,
single situation that bogs us down. We
hmm,
find a
hmm,
way in every situation to make it work.
hmm.
And that's
True.
our, that's our spirit. we're kindred
Yeah.
souls, so we all think alike. We are survivors, so we'll do what it takes to make the right thing
Yeah.
happen. And that's what I need the parents to do as well. Take that extra step, adapt. This is the new
Hmm.
normal, so they need to adapt to the new normal, keeping the
Hmm.
kids' fitness in mind. And fitness
Hmm.
is emotional, physical, and mental.
Correct. Awesome.
And I must
So thank you.
congratulate
Yeah.
you also for this
Yeah.
amazing effort. I think you're doing a
Thank
fab
you.
job. Fitness needs to be I mean, it's an awareness. It needs to be spoken
Yes.
about, especially in children.
Yes.
People start a little later in the day. I would really request parents to, give it a thought.
Hmm.
Spend a minute a day to think about what your kid is eating, whether your kid is spending enough calories, whether your kid is big for his age or her age, small for his or
Hmm.
her age. Talk to your
Hmm.
doctor. Talk to people like you. I'm sure we can help them out.
Hmm. Sounds good. I mean, that's an excellent message that you gave out. So, thank you, Dr. Parekh. It was very informative, honestly. And I
Thank
hope
you.
you keep safe. You're still going to clinic every day, so thank you for that. You're still addressing patients.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
thank you and
Thank you.
keep doing the great
Thank you.
work that you're doing.
Thank you. You too. Take care. Have a lovely
Stay
day.
safe. Bye. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Stay safe. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.